Hey guys, it's Crazy here. I just wanted to go over this new game, No Rest for the Wicked. It's been great, one of my favorite games. Um, in this video, I'm gonna go over a dagger build I was using while we are going through the game. Dual wielding daggers with Midnight here and the spear. This is the gear that we're using. We're pretty much getting unlimited focus with only just a few attacks. This is after the updates too. And then we're getting our hit points back with just a few attacks. And we're getting unlimited stamina procs constantly. So really fun build. Um, Highly recommend trying this out, especially if you like jumping up into the face of the boss and doing a lot of damage like that. So if you want to do that, and if you're having a hard time with the Echo Knight and you like using daggers, hopefully this build will help you out. Anyway, let's get into it. They usually go to the one-handed dagger. These guys. Oh, it's so much more damage from that enchanted. Hey guys, Crazy here. I just wanted to go over this game real quick. No Rest for the Wicked's been pretty great, and we've been able to do all the content and beat all the bosses. The Echo Knight seems to be one of the harder bosses of the game. Took us a little bit to figure it out, but once we figured it out, we have him on farm now. Been able to get all sorts of new legendary items and cool stuff for the game. So what we ended up going through the game with the first time was daggers. I started with some claymores and a few other things, but the daggers ended up being my favorite. I like the dash, hit, and run style of them. Getting little parries in, walking up behind targets, and doing some back attacks. So, pretty fun stuff. At the end of the game, here's the build that we kind of came up with. I found a Midnight Blade. It's pretty fun. I like using this to take out like heavy armor targets that are hard to get through, especially just jump behind them, do a backstab. Brothers Keepers we use for boss fights. I mainly just dash around the target and just do as much damage as possible without doing any parries or anything else. It's just as much damage as possible. And then the Needle Spear is used mainly for the damage surge buff, but you can get that from anywhere. We have 42 decks, and I like the range of it. I like that you can use a shield while you have it. So being able to do this really cool little move on hit effects for it's pretty dope. And since you have the shield, it's a lot easier to block and do some parry stuff. Putting all these together has been pretty powerful. So usually when we go into a boss fight, just to kind of show how it works, is we'll buff with damage surge here. I'll sometimes start the fight with a couple pokes. And the way we have that set up is we get the stamina refill chance on damage dealt. So usually I'll go clear back to full stamina whenever we do a poke with the spear. For the most part, I'll sit in dual dagger form and dash around the boss using the dual breaker move over and over again. And then usually when we're fighting against just random targets, I'll switch to the Midnight Blade. And it's got a lot of cool moves. You can enchant your weapon, and that'll switch over to the other weapons as well. Lightning Sweep is a move that's melee, but it kind of hits at range as well, and then Blink's one of the big bread and butters for the weapon. And just being able to have it out and then just blink behind a target, pretty big stuff. All right, so what makes everything work and How are we able to do some crazy stuff with the build? So with the daggers, if you can, you're going to try to forge something that has like health on gain or health on damage dealt and focus on damage dealt. If you can, you really are looking for that stamina refill chance on damage dealt for the final modifier there. But if you don't get it, I mean, don't worry about it too much. You can get that on a pair of gloves. And since we got that on a pair of gloves, it's not that big of a deal if you get it on the weapon or not. It does give you more options with your gloves, though, if you can get it on the weapon. So, pretty big deal there. Brother's Keeper just got the stamina refill on chance. Attack still extra damage. Haven't really updated these too much. I'm kind of looking for a better spear still. And then the Midnight Blade was just fun to go with. One of the main reasons why we went with this setup is sometimes I'll use the chip daggers and whatnot, but it's the stat thing that you're not able to respec just yet. So we went with 42 dex, 16 intelligence, and 16 strength. So I just kind of switched between the weapons that allowed me to use the strength and intelligence combo here, or the dex and intelligence combo here. If we had faith, I'd go into rapiers, but that's going to be for another build. And that's also, while we're on stats here, kind of how I think that you should spec yourself is only put enough points to wield the weapons that you're trying to use, and that'll give you a lot more points to do other things. So if you're using like a gnarled staff and you only need a little bit of intelligence, just pump up enough intelligence that you can use a gnarled staff, and then you can put the rest into focus, stamina, and health and whatnot. Like things like that are going to make it so that you're not going to get a lot of damage scaling, but you're going to be able to put your points into all of your other stats, and you're still going to be able to wield the items that you want. Last, towards the end of your levels, once you start to realize what kind of gear your character likes and what kind of moves you like to do, I would start investing into your focus and your equip load last. Early on in the game, you're going to need a little bit of equip load just to move and be able to use gear. But as you go on, you have to figure out how much focus and how much equip load that build really needs. And since we just do a lot of auto attacks, ended up not needing too much focus, and we use light gear, so equip load didn't put too many points into it. That's how the stats go. And then as for the gear here, got a shield. Don't have a good recommendation for a shield just yet. They seem to roll a lot of like poise defense and reflect damage. I've already seen the weapons. This shield's just something we found recently, and I wanted to have something for the Midnight Blade. Try that out. As for the gear here, if you can, trying to get that stamina refill chance on your gloves or on your weapon. If you don't have it on the weapon, get it on the gloves. If you do have it on your weapon, though, like we went clear through the game using these. This is my main daggers I use to the end of the game. And these are the gloves that I was using while I had those daggers, because these are much better overall than using the stamina refill ones. Just an idea of kind of stuff that you can do. Some ideas for how to gear. If you find a really good chest piece that's kind of heavy, kind of like this mesh chest piece was, or this leather was, or this mesh pants, you can try to throw some feathers in it to lower the weight cost, or you can try to get like a helmet like this, or like a cloth gear that weighs the least amount with a really high equip load on it. So if you get like a couple pieces of cloth with high equip load on them, it'll allow you to actually wear heavier gear in other slots. So just a few ideas for people. A couple of key items for the build. I think that using agility rings is a big deal. The sprint cost and the movement speed is my favorite part, and the stamina cost reduction for your weapons is kind of a big deal, especially when you're trying to fish for that 14 stamina refill chance. So I doubled up on the agility rings. It's probably better to maybe use a berserk ring in here, especially since the damage increase is pretty substantial. But I like to run around and do a lot of backstabs, so we're usually rocking the double agilities. A few other things is the equip load ring, feather ring kind of came in handy here. And the crow ring, if you have an amazing weapon or something, you just can't get away from it, and you need to get the health still. Crow ring seems to be pretty common. It's a tier 1 weapon or tier 1 ring. The health decrease isn't too significant, especially at lower levels. When you have lower health, it doesn't seem to like lower so much. And then if you have a really GG weapon, but you just don't have lifesteal on it, it kind of helps with that. So those are some recommendations for people. I think that would be good. One of my favorite rings when I got towards the end game was the focus one. I like to have that extra 100 focus, and I like the focus gain it gives. and that comes to the gear we use. So gloves, as I said, mainly just fishing for the stamina refill chance. But if you do get something like this seemed pretty good to me. I like the overall speed, the stamina steal, and the focus gain. And then for the rest of the gear, I just kind of was fishing for focus gain since we started doing that towards the end of the game.